looking to the bench to make another change. On rim.
Say what you will about Russell Westbrook, but you just got to respect the energy that he brings, because I feel like it's so rare in the NBA.
Cut from the OG cloth. I don't even know if he's friends with guys on his team. It's refreshing to see in this day and age.
Let me tell you, brother, like, you got to prove yourself. That's crazy, just asking for LT's number. And I'm glad that LT shut him down like that.
So Abdul Carter, obviously drafted number 3 overall to the New York Giants. This guy who's not played a snap of NFL football is asking Lawrence Taylor, let me wear your number, as a rookie in the NFL who has proved nothing yet.
Hey, everybody watch out for the AI.
Oh,
start utilizing that.
Oh, wow.
Gosh. Every single horse racing in this year's Kentucky Derby is a descendant of Secretariat, one of the great racehorses of all time, behind only Man O' War. That was in like the World War I era.
This is classic LeBron versus Jordan talk, Secretariat versus Man of War.
And this weekend we had the glorious Kentucky Derby. Okay, and it was won by a horse named Sovereignty. Here, I'm just going to throw up just a little bit of, it was raining like hell. I'll throw up a little bit of this, but I want to get your guys' thoughts. What are your guys' thoughts on like events like the Kentucky Derby and like everybody going in there and dressing up like it's Easter? And also one thing that I've never been, and I don't want to, hate on it too much, but it is a 2.5 minute race. The whole thing just for a 2.5 minute race. So that kind of makes me wonder a little bit about going to the Kentucky Derby. What are your guys' thoughts on the Kentucky Derby?
Wait, it's 2.5 minutes?
It's one lap.
I had no idea. I thought it was like an hour-long event, like a game. So the lead-up is just a bunch of exhibition races?
No. It's like a track meet, right? So like in the Olympics, there are a bunch of things going on, right? And a bunch of different races that have just as much. I don't know.
Okay, so some of the horses are doing field events leading up.
Yeah.
Some of the horses are doing high jump.
The
horses are throwing shot put.
Javelin.
Final call.
This is just the main. This is the mainstay. This is like the main one, and the biggest race of them all. So that's what everybody stays to watch.
I think it's so cool that everyone comes dressed up in their Sunday best, as you say. It's kind of like the movie Hunger Games, and it's like Elysium. It's like these are the kind of events that they would throw at the Capitol. Everyone dresses up like crazy.
Okay, that's true. That's actually.
And I think it's good for society.
That's actually kind of sick. I didn't. So they actually do. Are you sure? Do they do multiple races then? Does that not destroy the track?
It's a full day. It's a full day thing.
Gosh, why did I not realize that? Of course it is.
Yeah.
I've been to the horse track and watched them like run 40 or 30 races. Why did I think the Kentucky Derby was just the one?
Because your head was in your ticket looking at your bet, Nick. We were looking at horses.
Yeah, back in the day, I bet on the ponies a couple of times. Me and Tony Soprano. All right, but here's the craziest thing about this. So the horse that won, Sovereignty, had a bunch of, let's call it, siblings in the race as well, because look at this. Here's a crazy stat. Every single horse that was racing in this year's Kentucky Derby is a descendant of Secretariat. Secretariat, obviously, one of the great racehorses of all time. I think ranked number 2 on the greatest racehorses of the 20th century list, behind only Man O' War. That was in like the World War I era. Is this not the craziest thing ever? Is horse racing the sport where genetics matter the absolute most?
This is funny. Well, you have to factor in the jockey that Secretariat had, okay? He had a Hall of Fame jockey on his team. This is classic LeBron versus Jordan talk, Secretariat versus Man of War.
Who you got? Are you a Secretariat guy? Who's the GOAT?
Secretariat. My Mount Rushmore horse rating. Secretariat number 1. That's crazy. I want to know what Secretariat's stud fee was, because he has so many descendants, and the descendants of him are making a lot of money. So,
and we need that adjusted for inflation too.
True,
Yeah.
adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, this is a nuts statistic. I mean, it's almost like Secretariat was Arch Manning, and all of a sudden he's producing Super Bowl winning quarterbacks.
They're all on steroids, right?
No. They're super like locked down on that stuff. If you're taking steroids, you get nixed. There was a horse actually not too recently, a couple of years ago, that actually got caught in one of the Triple Crown races for having PEDs.
He got caught red-handed.
Remember DMSO? That like horrible smelling thing.
Oh, remember,
yeah.
our whole family, Scott, uses it on our body all the time. Our grandfather, Grampy, he introduced us to DMSO, and then our mom, and we've rubbed it on our muscles, the Alfieri family, for years. And it's crazy because you got a quad strain, you rub your DMSO in there, and for those who don't know, it is literally a horse race medicine. And then all of a sudden, like 5 minutes later, you'll taste it in your mouth.
Oh yeah,
and everyone will smell it.
Yeah, everyone smells it. Man.
My mother would lather me in DMSO before school, and I had no friends. I couldn't figure out why.
That actually is a direct correlation to all Mikey's social problems, is the DMSO that our parents put on him to heal his young athlete injuries. Sorry, Scott. I cut you off on the DMSO thing because I just got me so excited. What, go down your DMSO route?
No. That was a much better route to go down than mine. But I'm just saying, this guy got caught for doing. I'm gonna look this up right now because this is bothering me.
Did you guys? Did the Williams family really never use DMSO?
No. I smelled it once. Dude, I forgot who it was. It was somebody on in Sean's class on the football team that was using it, and I was like,
"Yeah,
that you have the worst breath I've ever smelled." And I'm like, I never want to be that guy. So no, thank you,
Scott. But it's worth the price of admission. That bad breath will no. At that point, I was focused on the ladies, and I didn't want to make them have a greater aversion to me than they already had. So, yeah, you don't have there's not an aversion to you. You were most likely to have 10 kids. Okay, there's no aversion
12.
to you. 12 kids. Okay, you could have been fine with DMSO breath. Could have healed some of those hamstrings. All right, so are you? What are you looking up? Are you looking some number?
I don't even know how to Google this. I say horse knocked out of race for PEDs.
Okay, yeah,
but he put out a hell of an apology at the press conference.
Yeah, he's a morally upstanding horse.
I'll keep searching. Let's
okay.
Move along.
All right,
I'll bring it up.
All right, you keep searching, and when we find out this horse story, we'll return to our horse segment. But there we have the Kentucky Derby was this weekend, and I just think I think it's a fun cultural event for the United States. Even when it's raining, I think it's very historic. So there we have that. But this, gosh, I got to get you guys' thoughts on this because it kind of rubs me a certain type of way. So Abdul Carter obviously drafted number 3 overall to the New York Giants, and out of the gate, this guy who's not played a snap of NFL football is asking Lawrence Taylor, LT, come up off that number 56, which is retired. And he's basically asking Lawrence Taylor, let me wear your number as a rookie in the NFL who has proved nothing yet. I'm going to play this response here from Gronk, who commented on it, and then I want to get your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, they got Abdul Carter. Yeah, I think with the third pick in the draft, who's going to be a star, but was he serious? Was he serious asking for LT's number? Yeah, you're a high draft pick, but LT is an absolute legend, the best to do it, one of the best defenders of all time. And let me tell you, brother, like you got to prove yourself. That's crazy just asking for LT's number. And I'm glad that LT shut him down like that.
LT did the L.
What are your guys' thoughts on a player who has not played it down in the NFL asking a Hall of Famer like that for his number?
Yeah, man. Have some humility. Like you may be the next LT, sure, but like you literally haven't stepped foot, as Gronk said, and as you said, on the football field yet in the NFL, and you're asking for the GOAT. Like he's hands down. I mean, yeah, I know there's variation depending on where you're at in the levels of the field on the defensive side, but he's arguably, if not the best defender to ever play the game. And even the GOAT himself, Bill Belichick, is like, nope, that guy right there. Always, in my book, the best of all time.
I just can't believe. I love that LT shut him down right away. It would be horrible if he gave into that and let that kind of behavior run amok. But I think that's just insane. He's riding the high of like the draft high and being a high prospect and just this running rampant.
Do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like in college when you're a senior. I maybe this is hyper specific because I have a very hyper specific memory of fall camp when I was a senior going into it, and I had a room with a freshman, and this freshman kept just telling me, "You got to watch my highlight tape, bro. You got to watch my highlight tape." I guess what, brother? I don't care at all about your highlight tape from high school. Okay, Nice kid, really, really nice kid, but just that ignorance and just kind of arrogance of like, you got to check out what I did at the previous. It's just that kind of remind me like that. Do you guys ever have anything like that? That's just, gosh, I'm never so mad about that.
The audacity of that kid. I mean, we used to watch everybody's highlight film to make fun of them in the middle of fall camp because they were always so flashy, and it was just like, okay, we've seen you playing on the field. That's not you.
Did you guys have it? We had a case of that hardcore conspiracy. We had a case of that out of a fella who's like highlight tape from high school was unbelievable, and he was like pretty trim and just athletic all over the field. And then he showed up at fall camp. He was a little bit chunkier, didn't move the same way, and we were all wondering, is this somebody else's highlight tape that you used to get the sports account?
That's wow.
I always thought
so smart.
There's some people that have done that. I mean, if you wanted to, especially if you wanted to go to one of those like prestigious Ivy League schools, Scott, there's some people that kind of try to finesse that system.
We saw it recently with the recruiting scandal of, guys taking Photoshop pictures of them doing crew in high school and then getting into really prestigious colleges, so on and so forth. So that's happened in the past. I wasn't speaking to a guy actually faking that they were in the video. That's wild. I was saying like, oh yeah, you're definitely not doing what you did in that on the fall camp field right now. That's not you. Like,
okay. Yeah. So you guys did not have a case of like, I think this guy faked his highlight tape to get to this school. No.
Hey, everybody watch out for the AI. That's going to be wild to people start utilizing that.
Oh, wow.
Gosh, that's
Mid-journey.
Dang, how do you validate anything?
Oh, you're not going to be able to. You're not going to.
You have to go to every game. Coaches have to go to every game of her offer.
Oh, your uncle is a scout is going to have to be on the road watching every single person play in person because you're no longer able to trust football film. That's actually kind of a scary thing.
You heard it here first on No Warm Up.
We broke the possibility to society that football recruiting could be really, really affected by. Have you seen some of those like video models that you can just do whatever? I mean, it's unbelievable. It's magic. You know what I'm saying? Not okay. You're thinking of like the Mid-Journey or some of these video LLMs where you type in, "Hey, make me a video."
Oh yeah,
and it just gives you a
insane.
It's like, hey, take this clip of me getting a 2-yard TFL and make it a 7-yard TFL and make me a little bit faster.
Yeah, and then you feed it, and then you feed it an example of Christian McCaffrey and be like, "Oh yeah, you see how he broke 7 tackles here in this? Please make mine 5, but better."
Wow. Okay, this is going to be.
That would have changed my life.
If only commit fraud in recruiting. Speaking of recruiting, this is interesting because we talked, Scott, when we were talking to your uncle about specifically basketball players getting pulled over into the NBA. And then we've got another one. Sean Payton drafted a 6'7" basketball player in the 7th round. And this is interesting because your uncle did say that this feels like it's exclusively limited to the tight end position right here. What are your thoughts on this? And also, do you agree with your uncle that it's only tight ends, or is there any other position that we could be finding, or any other sport or position that we could be finding guys in other sports in?
I mean, I'm not going to cut against him because I'm pretty biased. A lot of what I know is because I've gleaned it from him and his knowledge in the game and everything like that. But I don't think he's wrong here. I think the majority of dudes coming out of other sports, and basketball specifically, happen to be strictly for the tight end position because it's just, I think in that position on offense, like you have to have a bunch of different skill sets. You have to have the physical attributes that are different than everybody else on the field, right? It's different than a wide receiver. It's different than a running back. So it's just one of those really unique situations or unique positions for unique situations and unique players like basketball guys up and over. I think one of the other positions that could be second to that would be something along the lines of like a slot receiver. You get some point guards who are incredibly shifty, who can move, who have that fluidity, maybe not like super fast twitch, but I was watching the Nuggets game the other day in that final game and seeing like Russell Westbrook, even at his age, 36, 35, whatever, doing what he was doing on the field. He had a couple great reads, like a safety hawking the ball, like stealing some long passes and everything like that. I was just like, dang, seeing somebody like Russell with the athleticism that he has, which is akin to like Derrick Rose back in the day before injury, I would love to see somebody like that on the football field because I think that those guys could be serious difference makers.
Allen Iverson.
Hey, yeah. Allen, this has just been resurfacing quite a bit, is Allen Iverson's football highlights from high school. And I remember watching those back in the day because I was always an Allen Iverson fan. And they are incredible. Punt returner, just such an athlete. And you could just see all of his elusiveness that we saw on the basketball court, seeing that on the football field. And he even said, like, he was better. I think he said he was better at football than he was at basketball.
And he was a quarterback too, right?
Yeah, he was a quarterback as well. It's like, hey,
man,
I bet you, like, now look at some of these smaller little, like, mobile quarterbacks we've got in the NFL, like a Bryce Young type or a Kyler Murray type. I mean, back then, that early 2000s, people would just kind of laugh that off. But now we've seen a little bit of an example or a precedent set for a quarterback that's kind of got that stature and that type of skill set. I wonder if Allen Iverson was, 25 years younger, if we might have seen him in the NFL instead. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. In this day and age, it's so hard because you got the NIL transfer portal and everything like that. Like the numbers that some basketball guys are getting. I mean, we just saw Kentucky load up a squad with, I think it was $20 million roster. So like there were 6 dudes or something like that with $1 million or more for this upcoming year. So I don't know if the football money translates as well yet. So he still probably would have gone the basketball route for monetary purposes, but the door is definitely open for that having been a potential if you were in this day and age, because just the skill set, as you were talking to Kyler Murray, all those dudes, it's a completely different game. And shout out to Drew Brees for opening that door for shorties. I mean, I know Doug Flutie was there before, but Drew Brees really blew the top off of that. Hey, anybody that's 6 feet, you could still do it. You could still.
Yeah, that was your idol, Drew Brees.
Yeah, just a smidge over 6 feet, and that was my guy.
One smidge.
Allen
Iverson would have played at Miami in the 90s. That's a perfect fit.
Hell yeah. In an alternate universe, but in this universe, he was Georgetown Hoya, me and Allen Iverson, two great Georgetown Hoyas, right?
Could you imagine that squad?
Alan, it's me, Nick again.
Hey, Alan, it's
Alan.
What squad, Scott? What squad?
No, I was gonna say that's a good point, Mikey. Because could you imagine the Miami squad of the early 2000s and late 90s playing with Allen Iverson at quarterback as opposed to Dorsey?
Yeah,
like insane. That would have been
crazy,
ridiculous,
crazy.
By the way,
hell of a documentary because it would have ended horribly, I'm sure.
Speaking,
incredible.
Did you guys see Catholics versus Convicts? I'm so off topic here, but just because did you see that documentary, Catholics versus Convicts?
Yeah, the 30 for 30. Yeah,
30 for 30. That was awesome. Mike, have you seen that?
Yeah, Notre Dame versus Miami, right?
Yeah,
really good.
Notre Dame versus
watch
Miami.
it again.
Absolutely incredible. Okay, so there we have got another basketball player getting into the NFL, 6'7". Sean Payton. Some of these coaches, man. Guy like Sean Payton, I feel like he'll be able to convert a guy like that and fit him in. Give Bo Nix a good big target.
The one thing I hate about this is that it's happening from basketball to football, and you don't see the guys going from football to basketball as much. So that's the hat that everybody like the basketball guys always say, "Oh, you never see it the opposite way, so there's no way you could come into our league and play." And it's just like, okay, dude.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would like to see it go the opposite way, but it's just like, all right, who in the NFL right now do you think could jump in and play in the NBA?
Oh, I mean, there are a number of dudes. I mean, we even saw DK Metcalf, his highlights have come out, everything like that. Puka Nacua is he's very vocal about like being a big basketball dude and wanting to play. He played in the NBA All-Star like celebrity game and everything like that. Sure. He's got some hops. There are a number of dudes, and we even saw Ruggs. Obviously, he has a checkered past, but we saw his high school tape coming out of Georgia as well, and the dude getting up. And you're telling me that guy can't or could not have played in the NBA is pretty absurd. Obviously there's a level of skill set that some of the NBA guys, if not all the NBA guys, have over the, say, athleticism of some of these football guys. But if you give some of these athletes on the NFL side 2 hard years of training ball skills, absolutely, a huge number of them.
They could do it in 6 months. 6 months to get their shot back. They're good. That's the only lagging thing. Like, you don't need to, when you go from NBA to NFL, like basketball and football, you don't need to have that hyper fine-tuned shot. Yeah. Like, that's something
unless you're a ball handler.
Unless you're a ball handler. But there's other ways to contribute and other things that like the football skill set. Yeah, look, Dennis Rodman, Come on now.
The physicality, dude, that's a difference maker in basketball. If you have like a modicum of aggression higher than anybody else on the court, like you're going to make a massive impact.
Yeah. I mean, you look at like somebody like Draymond Green or even Russ, like, I mean, he's just way more aggressive than a lot of guys and just plays high energy, just high motor basketball. And it's really, really cool to see. By the way, I would like to state here clearly that I model my pickup basketball game after Dennis Rodman. Mike, can you attest to that? I play Dennis Rodman basketball. I'm a 4.
Yeah, he does. He does. He elbows all the little kids at the rec center and dives for balls.
Sometimes I go
missing. He gets in people's faces and he yells "Biff" and people shoot. It's just a hustle player.
Okay. Gritty.
I remember from the SAC basketball court. I told you, I found in the depths of my archives, the saved Facebook archives, for some reason, there's a grainy video of you draining a game-winning 3 on me at SAC. And I got Matt Fay screaming in the background, Kobe!
Scott, you have to, after we start recording, you have to send me that.
Okay? Yeah, I got to find it. I got to unearth it again.
Okay. Speaking of hypotheticals here, because we're talking about this hypothetical basketball, football crossover, who could do what have you. This is a hypothetical that I like to think about a lot because we talk all the time about, the NFL is going to expand internationally. And who knows if that is actually going to happen. I mean, they're going to for sure continue to do these international games because the demand is there, at least for those. But this is an interesting question. If the NFL were to expand domestically, what city do you believe would be the top candidate? Where would we like to see another NFL team or 2 added to the league?
Portland, Oregon.
I don't know if we have the culture. I don't know if we're gonna have the
softest team.
We're more of a soccer town, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Portland's actually really good at soccer. I don't know if we are
very good. Yeah. UP, yeah, all Timbers, all of those teams.
Utah could put together a good NFL team.
Salt Lake City.
Yeah, something like that.
That'd be interesting.
And it's great landscape. It'd draw fans.
That's interesting.
It's beautiful. But like there's a lot of grit, BYU, Utah. Those are tough teams always. That's tough football region. Yeah. And I think it'd be a good fan base because you have a lot of family oriented in Utah. Okay. True. And it's a perfect NFL consumer.
Yeah, big dollars to be had for the NFL. I bet you they have it on their radar. But I would say the next city, and it's a shame that it fell apart from the beginning, but St. Louis needs a team. It's such a shame. Yeah, I know they were returning to LA, but the fact that it got ripped away, St. Louis needs to be the next team in the same way that like the NBA is harping on Seattle needing an NBA team, which I agree with as well.
Right.
St. Louis should be the first to get it.
I kind of like that. It is sad it's also like, it would be wild if they ended up getting a team back. But it's just, it's sad when a city loses their franchise. I mean, Cleveland, you guys had it going to Baltimore. Then it's funny also like just renaming the new franchise the same thing. So it's kind of like there's a little muddiness with
never happened.
Yeah, I was like, wait, hey, which Cleveland Browns are we talking about here? Which franchise? But hey, at least you guys got your team back. I do like the St. Louis one. Geez, I don't know if I've got a better one than what both of you guys just said right there. Yeah, we got too many in Florida. We got 3 already in Florida. Honestly, we need to get rid of Jacksonville. You guys know Duval. I'm not a Jacksonville type guy.
There should if it's not St. Louis and if it's not Utah, which I didn't even have on my radar, which is cool. It's gotta be a team in the South, like the South,
Alabama, Georgia, something down there.
Yeah, we've seen the obsession of the SEC and how it's become just, as my uncle was saying, being down at Ole Miss. It's right. Like it's that phrase. It means more is actually true, regardless of how cheesy it is. It's at another level because that's what the majority of those states down there have. They don't have pro teams to necessarily cheer for outside of the Falcons and Jacksonville.
All right, let's move on. NBA playoffs. Obviously, we're now getting into the conference semifinals here, and the Rockets Warriors. All right, Warriors came back or held off the Rockets. It's interesting. We've got a 6 seed versus 7 seed. This is the March Madness that we were looking for back in actual March Madness. Some of these underdogs getting through, but also the Nuggets smacking the Clippers in Game 7 here. And we're just talking about Russell Westbrook. This dude, he plays energetically. He's got an attitude, and he kind of knows it. And this is funny. He was super hyped when they knew they were going to win. And he got this deliberate technical.
Looking to the bench to make some other changes. Westbrook. Another jam.
All right, Russ.
Technical foul on Westbrook for hanging on the rim.
Say what you will about Russell Westbrook, but you just got to respect the energy that he brings, because I feel like it's so rare in the NBA. You know, I feel like he's just one of a handful of guys that at least plays this way. What do you think?
All it is just being cut from the OG cloth, and you can tell I don't even know if he's friends with guys on his team. That's how crazy he is in the way in which he plays, and like that sort of like just blinders sort of approach to the game. And it's honestly, it's refreshing to see in this day and age. And as I mentioned earlier, I saw it happen multiple times on multiple possessions in the way in which he was playing with just such a high energy. And yeah, that's going to come at a cost to you at some point, because sometimes his offensive decision making is I don't know what's going on in his mind.
He likes to turn the ball over.
Yeah, but he adds that element of chaos that is good for the game, because the other team doesn't even know what the heck's going on, and like you're all on the same level. There.
I like that, kind of that element of chaos. Sometimes it gets a little bit out of hand. Sometimes it's great for you. It's also interesting that in this Game 7, it's like the absolute superstar Jokic like didn't really do that much. I think he had like 16 points. Like just wasn't really that dominance, or didn't have to be that dominant. You had some other guys like Westbrook stepping up here, so I think is interesting. And then of course we got to talk about James Harden, who has kind of been ring chasing. This is Harden right here, ring chasing for the last 5 years. What do we think about this? About these guys that's really like hop around team to team here, looking to try to get a ring, especially in the latter half of their career?
Well, before I jump onto that, I want to say, like with the Jokic stuff, he still damn near had a triple-double with that 16 points. Fair. 16, 10, and 8, like, which is insane to say, like, oh, I don't understand how this guy is not the MVP. Like, he needs to be the MVP, because exactly as you just said.
Shea's like the favorite for the MVP.
Yeah. I get the sense that it's because he hasn't won it yet, and I don't think that should be a parameter, or that shouldn't be a reason as to why you get an MVP just because you haven't won it yet and you're nearly deserved.
Right,
dude, you gotta be like undeniably the best.
That's some participation trophy stuff right there.
Yeah. Okay. So sidetracked there, but yeah, the ring chasing stuff, it's really interesting because we get. I feel like the Clippers, they're in that 2010 to 2015 mindset, right? Like create the big three, and then all of a sudden you're going to win like the Heat did back in the day and just go on a tear. And then even before that, the Celtics and so on and so forth. And I feel like that approach and that strategy, similar to like Moneyball in baseball, is dying, and it's dying quickly. And I feel as though Harden, in the way in which he approaches it, and this is not to like, obviously I don't know what goes on in his own mind and what goes on in the locker room, but the way, like the difference between Westbrook and Harden and the way that they play and how hard they play, it's at least optically different. And it seems like Harden kind of like is always trying to find the easy way to win, or the easy way to get a bucket, or something along those lines, where Westbrook is just, like I said, a bull in a china shop. And it's crazy because they came from the same team, starting their career at the same team with the Oklahoma City Thunder, with KD and everything like that. So it's interesting to see their paths having diverted so differently over the course of their careers.
Yeah, it really is. Also, the Clippers had more talent, I think, overall in this series, but just the way that the Nuggets were able to, I don't know, kind of grind it out. I respect it. Who do you like? I mean, them versus the Thunder in the next round.
This is going to be tough because you got two different ways depending on how this first game goes. The Nuggets are coming off; they're ready to take punches and throw punches because they just went through a difficult round, and the Thunder have been just sitting on their hands, getting healthy for the past week and a half. They haven't played in so long, so you could either get the excuse of, oh, the Oklahoma City Thunder were rusty. Rest versus rust sort of argument.
Rest versus rust, yeah. Look back also to the college football playoff this last year, where Oregon had an unreasonable amount of time off. They had like 3 weeks off, and then they showed up and played Ohio State. And Ohio State, who was a little bit more of a rhythm, came and kicked their ass. I think it could be a little bit different here. I don't know. I mean, because the Nuggets really, I mean, they're getting into this game. I don't know when game one will be. Oh, is it tonight?
It's tonight, yeah.
It's tonight, yeah. I mean, they're getting right into it. So we'll see. And then, man, experience over youth in that Rockets Warriors series. Here, I'm going to throw this up here from RG3. RG3 sometimes got some good takes. Okay. The Warriors playoff and championship pedigree showed up in Game 7. The Rockets youth showed up. It's one thing to think that you have what it takes to win in the playoffs when it matters most. It's another to know you can because you have. There is no substitute for experience. Obviously, the Warriors having some pretty experienced guys in their upper 30s, mid to upper 30s, shall we say. And the Rockets, one of the youngest teams in the NBA, if not the youngest, I'm not sure. With a lot of talent, I will add. And also they're coming at the 2 seed, technically the favorite for the series, but the Warriors able to pull it out in 7. And even what was interesting to me is like Steph Curry was not hitting shots. He was not hot, but they still figured out a way. Like I think that's where the experience comes into play. Cause like, sometimes, hey, you're not your best player or your best shooter is not going to be hitting shots. You got to be able to adjust to that. And then Steph Curry played like really good off ball basketball, moving around. And then eventually in the fourth quarter, he was able to kind of find that rhythm there. But I guess that poses a question then. Do you agree with RG3 right here that experience almost always trumps, let's say, youth and athleticism and talent?
It's becoming more and more apparent to me that skill and knowing the game, at least from a cerebral standpoint, and knowing when to pick and choose. I know this cuts against my argument with James and how it looks like he's playing, but then you look at like Jokic and how he plays. It's like probably the least athletic dude on the court. Let's be for real. But at the same time, the most effective in all statistical analyses, like the way in which he sees the game, the way in which he sees the flow. I think you're talking to the Warriors, so many of their guys on their roster, they may not be super deep, but the experience depth that they bring with Steph and Draymond at the least is so much deeper than a majority of these teams in the playoffs right now. And the way you're talking about Steph running and making shots for himself, he's just continuously done that. So like his physical, and I think it's probably due to his smaller stature and the fact that he's not as bouncy as say those Westbrooks or those D Roses or anything like that, to where like he's been able to have a very solid, healthy career after the first couple of years, and staying healthy and being able to tweak his game so that he remains that way. But his energy and his effort is off the charts for 37, which is so cool to see. And then you add the experience, and it's just like, dude, at a certain point, I'm starting to full-heartedly agree with RG3, and I'm even more so as I talk about it right now.
I saw I can't remember where I saw the post, but somebody making kind of we'll call it a controversial claim that actually the LeBron era of the NBA was completely dominated by Steph Curry. And that actually Steph Curry was really the king of this era. And I got to pull up some of the stats and some of the things they pulled on, but I think, it is a conversation. It is a conversation there. But going back to the experience thing, I mean, just like speaking personally from my experience, I know the German football league is not necessarily on the same level as NBA playoffs. Not necessarily. But just if I think back, okay, because especially with playoffs, and games and situations where the stakes are heightened and it matters more. And I think back to, for example, when I played in the German Bowl, we were lucky we got to go to the German Bowl almost every single year that I was playing. Just for those who don't know, the championship, the Super Bowl of Germany. And I remember back to when I was in my first couple, and maybe when I was 24, 25, and I was technically a better athlete probably than when I was 30. However, my games in those high pressure situations when I was 29 and 30, I personally performed so much better. And I think I added a lot more value to the team in those years where I had much more experience, but maybe a step slower, a little bit weaker than when I was 24, 25 and strongest that I've ever been, simply because of the experience. And I think that's the really, you can't overweigh the experience, because you just know how to handle situations better and more cleverly and differently, and you can outmaneuver strength and speed, I believe.
Yeah, you know when to deploy your energy, like your depleted energy at that age, you know when to deploy it more efficiently. And I think that's the biggest thing because you have the wisdom of the game. You have so many reps under your belt. And I know I laugh and I'm glad Mikey popped back on here because I remember we were talking early on in the podcast where we were like, oh, the testosterone levels. And I was like, oh, old man strength is real and actually way better. Like, because you know when to exactly do that. Deploy the energy, deploy the strength at the right time with the wisdom and everything like that. So I feel like this is the same sort of situation that you're speaking to right here with the anecdote. But Mikey, what's your take on that?
I agree. It's very Zen. You ever read that book? It's called Zen and the Art of Archery. It's all about this kind of stuff where like you have experience now and anybody can be fast, anybody can be strong, but knowing how to use that precisely. Like if you use, say, I don't know how to explain this. If I'm somebody who can bench 50 pounds, but I know how to use that level of strength at the precise moment to maximize its effect, I am so much further ahead than a guy that just can bench 200 pounds, but just uses it randomly and doesn't know how to time it. Because like timing is everything. And if your timing is right, you don't need as much of a base to take advantage of it. So I agree with the experience thing. So
did you read that book before you went bow hunting with Luke?
No, that's why we didn't kid anything. We sat in a blind for 8 hours.
Hey, well, Luke's favorite activity.
This is fun for you? He's like, we're sitting in a blind, like we're like 6 hours in. You can't say a word to each other. You can't do anything. You can't look at your phone. He's like, isn't this great? What?
Hey, Luke, can you explain the fun part of this? You just sitting in a thing, just looking.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I like hunting if I was like on the move and actually chasing, but sitting and waiting for something to come to you, not my style.
Not my style. All right, so there we have NBA play. Oh, we do have to touch Scott. In the Cavs did drop game 1 to the Pacers. Okay. Hey, don't. I'm just saying. Pacers are 4 seed, Cavs are 1 seed. You guys got to come bust on through the first round, 4-0 over the Heat. Now you're having a little adversity?
That's good. That only iron sharpens iron in this situation. We're going to come through. Okay, first off, Halliburton played out of his mind. He got a double-double, if I'm not mistaken. And then there were like 3 other dudes on the squad that got double-doubles for the Pacers.
That's
the
true.
chances that they clip at that level again or consistently, pretty low. So I'm okay. We can drop 1. We can get a kick in our butt and then reset.
You wait till Halliburton's dad is unbanned from those stadiums. You guys are your ass. Okay, comes back in, you start waving towels at you guys. Okay, all right, and then obviously Knicks Celtics. This is awesome. I love that they're showing down right here, facing each other. 2 big markets, 2 iconic franchises that hate each other, Boston and New York. And I mean, it's just I like that for the NBA. It feels very historic. It feels very cinematic. Very, very big stakes. Because you do look at some of the other stuff in the Western Conference, like Thunder Nuggets, awesome. Smaller markets. I'm a sucker for big markets sometimes. I'm a sucker for some big cities. I just sprinkled in there. Okay.
Yeah, I get it. This one's cool too because I mean I know we always talk about like our nostalgia for the 90s basketball and early 2000s basketball, but this is harkening back to like what we grew up watching. The Knicks were actually relevant. They were always battling with with Latrell Sprewell and on the back end, Ewing and everybody on that squad were battling against MJ and the boys, and then even Reggie Miller and the Pacers. Secondarily, I love to see Joe Mazzulla like always on the court. I think he's one of those dudes in the same way that we were talking about JJ Redick being cut from the old cloth. And I think it was good that he was not letting the media narrative or the Lakers like rest on their laurels because they were gassed. He was just like, no, you guys are being soft. I'm going to keep you in there to harden you up a little bit, or at least sacrifice this year so that you realize that you need to get in shape. I love that Joe Mazzulla, he's just doing it at a better clip right now in his career with the guys that are on the squad, because those guys seem to have bought in. You never really hear about Jason Tatum, who should be the face of the league, if not one of the 2 or 3 right now. You like, for as big of a star as he is, he doesn't get nearly as much love as he probably should. And then Jaylen Brown too. Like, what are we doing, dude? These guys are insanely good. And then you got a guy like Joe at the helm. I can't wait to see this series kick off.
Same here. I think Joe Mazzulla is my favorite coach in the NBA. I love this guy. How old? Isn't he like 38?
Yeah, I think he might be younger than that.
Don't tell me if he's younger than that. Don't.
We're at that point.
Let's say he's above 40. Okay. I've got a couple more years to become the best and coolest coach in the NBA. Every time I hear something, okay, I can still do that.
I can still learn enough about basketball to become an NBA coach in a couple years. I can still do that.
Incredible.
There's no rush.
Poised as Joe Mazzulla. Yeah.
The one difficult thing is seeing James Gladstone, who's my age, 34, being the GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, but dude, I don't like that. I don't know. I think that he is a little bit too woo woo. Did you see some of his speeches? Like the way he was talking about Travis Hunter. It's like it was a little. Look, I'm a huge philosophy guy. It was a little bit too much philosophy and not enough football for me in his speech, your debut speech. It felt like he was trying to reinvent the NFL. So I don't know. I feel like he's gonna fail. I don't know.
He's too skinny. That's it.
If he
put on like 30 pounds, he'd have more respect.
Could be that.
Respect in the locker room.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you on Gladstone's talking about Travis Hunter. The only thing is like, dang, I'm glad he fell on that sword because I feel like I would be doing the exact same thing. So now I know not to. I'm learning from his mistakes.
Yeah, don't go too woo woo philosophy when saying, "Hey, we got a damn baller, will do." Okay, he was saying things like, Duval. Yeah, they got some weird stuff. And he was saying things like, "All Travis Hunter needs to do is be. He is." Like, you got to finish the sentences, man. Like, he is what? Okay.
Next card.
To be or not to be. I was like, all right, enough. It just felt, you know what it felt like? Performative. And I hate performance when I am not signing up for a performance. If I'm not watching a movie or I know I'm at a play, I don't want to watch you perform. And it feels very performative. Do you agree?
If I don't pay for it, don't do it.
Don't perform for me for free. Okay. I hate that.
Nick hates street performers. He walks around New York City and yells at them, "Enough! I didn't pay for this."
So performative.
Stop juggling.
So performative. All right, let's touch on this on golf. Scottie Scheffler, he has gotten his first W of 2025 in what I always feel like is kind of the weirdest named tournament. Okay, the CJ Cup. Byron Nelson. I was just like, is it even worth it to win that tournament? I mean,
who is that guy? Byron Nelson?
You tell me, Mike. Okay, you tell me.
He sponsored it.
I'm not sure. I probably should know, but I don't. But then so he won, and then I thought it was interesting. Jordan Spieth, who was really like one of the hottest golfers in the world, back in the day a few years ago. He said this. I want to get your thoughts on if you like when athletes speak like this. Okay, Mike.
All right.
What he's doing is very inspiring. What he's been doing is inspiring. It wasn't that long ago I was definitely better than him. And then now I'm definitely not right now. And I hate admitting that about anybody. But I just watched it, those first two rounds. I'm like, I got to get better. And it's very inspiring. And obviously at this event, it's this event, but it could be anywhere. I'm not jealous of like him winning this event over any other. I'm jealous of anyone that wins any week. And, I want to be the person there, and that's my drive. And when he does it, it's nice because, one, I just played with him these two rounds, but I'm also playing with him at home. I'm like, well, I've got more of a gauge on exactly where I need to be when I'm getting to play a lot of golf with him. So he certainly has earned this one. I don't see it going anywhere but just fine for him coming down the stretch, and I'm gonna be super pumped that when Scottie wins, I'm happy. It doesn't matter where it is.
What do you think? What do you think about athletes and people speaking this way?
I think this is like the only way you can say that and come across likable. Like, you can only have that sentence, or I was definitely better than him, when you're talking about how you're not anymore, and it's more of a self-criticism thing more than anything. And you're saying, it's kind of just giving props to him and how hard he worked and the strides that he made. I don't think it's that much of like an ego thing from the way he's talking about. He's just talking about he's talking about it strictly from an input work perspective. He's like, I was better than him at that point. Now he is better than me. I need to get better again.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's an ego thing. I think it's a humility thing, and they're friends. But like, kind of a weird thing to say, but only if you structure it that paragraph that way, can you get away with something like that and not come across as, geez, what are you doing?
You're right. He's right on the edge there, but actually he did it perfectly with the structure. I feel the same way. I think Jordan Spieth actually came across like pretty likable. It's like, all right, man. Yeah. Okay. You very self-reflective, very, as Scott would say, realist right there, but also with some optimism about, okay, now I will probably, hopefully get better than him again in the future. Like, so he did a very good job communicating this way, but I just feel like I can't imagine though someone who we consider, like, I don't know, Tom Brady or Michael Jordan. Would they ever say, yeah, now he's better than me? I feel like they would say, no, I play bad. It's on me. I'm better than that.
Oh yeah.
Okay? I'm better than this.
That's a
Would
good
you think
point.
that there's like kind of a different echelon of thought process?
It's like with like those kind of guys, there's a separation between your skill level and how you play. Like he's talking about it like there's no difference between your actual skill level and you just having a bad day.
Sure.
He's like he's like defining himself totally by the bad performance.
Yeah.
It's not like I had a bad performance. It's I am bad. It's kind of a bad mindset. That's like what he's doing.
Watch, I'm gonna get you to not like what he said. Actually, I think.
Okay, but here's the other thing. Like, if you were to structure this paragraph and the ending was, "I used to be so much better than him," and he finished with that, goes on this whole tangent. He's so much better than me. He played so much better than me, but I used to be so much better than him.
Yeah,
like
there's something
so interesting how you structure the paragraph. It's all the same words, but just the order. PEMDAS, order of operations.
Order of operations is very, very important. But yeah, I don't think that I could see certain type of athletes doing that. But what you said right there is actually perfect. He's basically matching who he is to his performance on this day, whereas a Kobe Bryant or a Michael Jordan or a Tom Brady would be like, I played terrible today. I'm so much better than that, and I will come back and show you how good. Like Michael Jordan's never saying, "Yeah, man, Isaiah Thomas is just better than me right now." It's like, I don't know. And that's how you become a billionaire. You never admit that anybody's better than you, and that's why Michael Jordan is a billionaire.
Okay, here's one other point on the difference mentality-wise of golf. In golf, everybody's playing against the game. You know, like everyone's playing their own game of they're playing against the whole way. So it's like it's kind of like more so everybody's kind of on the same side versus golf. Versus in basketball, football, you're playing against the other guys.
Yeah.
You know?
It's interesting. Different. It's almost like blackjack at a casino where like you're all playing against the dealer.
Yeah.
But you personally
blackjack versus poker.
Yeah, blackjack versus whereas also, but in blackjack, you also want to get the most chips. For you personally, it's like in golf, you obviously want to get the lowest score for you personally, but you guys are all playing, you're playing against the course. You're trying to do your best. There's something there. There's definitely something there. Yeah. All right. There we have it. Second round of NBA playoffs coming in hot. Scott, we'll see how the Cavs do and how much I'll be able to poke at the city of Cleveland. Okay. It's one of my favorite things to do.
That's fine. We can take it. We can take it because we're going to end up winning this, and we're going to go to the conference finals, and then we're going to take it home.
Spoken like a man from a gritty AFC North football team city who's about to be playing their football indoors. Okay? All right. There we have it. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We will see you on the next one.